Hey, what is up, everyone? Hopefully that worked well. I was trying to time things from the countdown to the intro. I think I messed up a little bit, but I'm getting back in the swing of this with Streamlabs here, or StreamYard. I'm sorry, StreamYard. So let me make sure that this is live on my channel, and then we'll dive right in. And I think I'll be able to see your comments here if people pop in. Oh, look at that! We already got one. Bang! Did you see that? What up, dude? All right, so I am live. All right, that's good. That tells me right there. How do I sound? Is there any echoes? Is there any problems? Let me know while I pull this up. Make sure it's working. Echoes? Is there any problems? Oh, okay. All right. Sounds okay on this end, but you guys let me know. Thank you for being here, Mike, and thanks anyone who watches later on. Thank you so much. 2 live streams in a row. I figured I was in the middle of cleaning. As you can see, I'm like patching holes in the back wall and like scrubbing things as I take each thing off. Um, I put this like sticky stuff on the wall for those soundboards, and they really got stuck on that wall. Like so, as I'm peeling soundboards off, there's like residue from that stuff. So I'm like scraping and then sandpapering and then using one of those white sponges that like pulls dirt out. So I'm like doing all that, getting all that cleaned and stuff. Sounds good, my friend. Sounding good. All right, good, awesome. Well, thanks for being here today. I figured we could just do like a random chat about anything, but I do have some topics to get into. We have one movie and 5 TV shows that I've watched in the months of May and June that I figured we could talk about. So there's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There is, hey, how's it going, Diamond Skull? Welcome, welcome. There's Stranger Things, and I don't think I've ever done a review on any of the seasons of Stranger Things, so we'll kind of talk a little bit about all 4 seasons real briefly, or as brief as we can. Then we'll get into Superman and Lois, seasons 1 and 2. Then we'll talk about Young Justice, seasons 1 through 4, and just kind of get all of my thoughts out on that show. And then we'll get into Obi-Wan Kenobi towards the end. And then we'll end with at least the first 5 episodes of Miss Marvel. I thought the final episode was airing today, and I must have miscalculated. So I guess we have another episode to go next week. So we'll at least talk about everything except the finale, and just kind of give overall thoughts on each of these. And then I might like edit these clips out and throw them up on Instagram or something. And forgive me if you see this peeking out. It's just my um, like patch and stuff for my chest. So don't worry about that. I try to cover it up, but it keeps peeking out. I just didn't put it low enough. So yeah, sorry. But yeah, I had to clean it out because I've been sweating all day. I've been like doing this, and I've been sanding some wood down because I'm making like these wooden planks. If you check out my Instagram, I'm making these wooden planks that are I guess it's like comic book pages wrapped around it, so that way when we make shelves for our wall in a new apartment, it's like all this cool DC artwork on the actual shelf. So just trying new things, trying to really lean into the inspiration stuff. Like pretty much coming up, I'm going to be doing a full deep dive into video making again, writing, editing, all that stuff. And I want to be surrounded by stuff that will inspire me, because lately, the past couple months, I've been slowly pulling things off the wall as I've been, depressed about things, and then getting ready for the move. That is another reason. Been peeling stuff off the wall, and now I just have like these white walls. It's very boring, and I don't feel very inspired. Um, so hoping you're doing well, my friend, and great to see you on here more. Yeah, and you'll see me more after we move into the new place. So that's why I'm trying to do a little bit this week in the live streams, and maybe another video or two, and then next week maybe a video or two, and then hopefully the week after that we'll be live streaming from the new place. And that's why I paid for StreamYards again, because I feel like it's time to get back into this with the layouts and stuff. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, so let's start with the first one, the first topic I have. And let me pull up, I think it's this one, yeah. Boom. All right, so Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Does it show up on screen here? Hold on, it might not. There it is, yeah, okay, awesome. So this movie, I actually recorded a full-on review of this, but I did it all in audio, and I don't remember why I chose audio, because the problem sometimes with recording only audio is I don't know what visuals to put up, to play, because then it comes across like a podcast. So I was like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't feeling good that night. Maybe I didn't want the light in my eyes. I don't know what was going on. So anyway, I re-listened to it last night so I could just kind of touch on my talking points. But if anyone is here live, and if you're watching later, let me know down in the comments what you think of Multiverse of Madness. What was your thought overall on Doctor Strange? I'll be honest, this movie, I went to see it with my friend Nate, and going in, I was kind of like, okay, I really want to be excited for this movie, but I also someone kind of warned me ahead of time. Like I didn't get anything spoiled, surprisingly, but someone warned me ahead of time. Like, hey, if you're thinking it's going to show like X-Men and all these other things, which I was originally told about, they were like, maybe temper your expectations. And I said, all right, don't tell me any more than that. So I think because I reset my expectations, that's why I wasn't as let down as I probably would have been if I went in thinking I was going to see like the X-Men show up. um, Hold on. Diamond says, unrelated note, but it's my birthday this Sunday. Hey, happy birthday. That's okay. You can interrupt for that. Everybody give Diamond a happy birthday in the chat there. Show some, cake emojis or celebration emojis, whatever you want to put in there. Hey, what's up, Tom? How's it going? You made it. You made it. You made it. Yeah, I know. I know yesterday you said you were like in a deep sleep or something, which is totally cool. So we're just talking about Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it. It's out on streaming now, so if you guys have Disney Plus, you can watch it right now if you want to. And yeah, so overall though, I liked it. It was a very Sam Raimi at times, at the kind of at the detriment of the film a little bit, but only because it was such a departure from the first Doctor Strange, which I guess that's what they were going for. It's like the clear visual styles of was it Derrickson or someone who directed the first one versus Sam Raimi. It's like he really hammed it up in some of these scenes, and he does that thing Sam Raimi does in almost every one of his movies. He did it in the Spider-Man movies too, in Spider-Man 3 in particular, where he'll do this shot where the camera's panning backwards and the extras are all running in a certain direction, but he has to do the take like 2 or 3 times. So in the editing room, it's like someone's running, and then the camera cuts, and you see that person running again, and then it cuts back, and then it's like they started from point A again, and so there's like that kind of continuity errors. There was some of that in the movie that actually I found a little distracting, but some of the like nods to Evil Dead and things that he did, like with zombie Doctor Strange coming out of the ground, and scenes like that, like I was like, okay, they're full on Sam Raimi just doing Sam Raimi things, but I liked those moments. I really did. And actually, I really liked America Chavez, who I know nothing about. Actually, I think I have one comic book, a Young Avengers run, because I collect everything Young Avengers. So I think I have a run with her where she's like a member, but I don't know if I've actually ever read that run, to be honest with you. I think I just flipped through it and looked at the artwork. But yeah, so I ended up liking her character, and I love the opening with her and Defender Doctor Strange, like who was kind of protecting her, and then he decided he's going to sacrifice her and take her powers and use them to stop, this creature who turned out to be something that was summoned from the Darkhold by Scarlet Witch. And they actually mentioned Chthon in the movie, and they had the ending take place in Wundagore Mountain, which is all references to the comic book and stuff, which I really was like into that stuff as well. So all those things I think were enough to make me ultimately like the movie and lean me more towards like giving it like a 7 or an 8 rating as opposed to like a 5 or 6, which is probably where I would have gone if it didn't have some of those moments in it. And the Illuminati thing I actually liked overall. I was like, okay, it's cool. They're just throwing them in there real briefly. I would have liked to seen them. It's tough because like this version of the Illuminati, they're like not as heroic, but they really established that by saying they had to kill their Doctor Strange after he beat Thanos. So they are a group that makes the tough decisions. And so they established that. So like, okay, so these guys aren't really heroic. They all came from heroism, but they got to a place of where they're ready to make tough choices, whether it makes sense to or not, much like Defender Doctor Strange was at the beginning. So I like having all those elements to constantly be there for our Doctor Strange to realize that they are not the right choices. Because then in the end, he has a chance to steal America Chavez's powers and beat Wanda, or at least fight Wanda with him, and he chooses not to. He says, "No, that's I'm not going to be like the others." That was their decision making style, and look where it got us. And he said, so no, I'm going to believe in you, and I'm going to hopefully inspire you to fight back. And then she did, and she came up with something clever, which was put Wanda back in the room with her kids, which was really great. So all that stuff, speaking of Young Avengers, her two kids, all that stuff I really dug. I thought it was cool. And I think someone had mentioned, like, why wasn't there a Vision in the house with her two kids? And I said that there's probably a million reasons for it. We don't know what happened to her Vision. I guess Thanos still ripped his, mind gem out, I'm assuming. So I imagine that battle mostly played out the way it did, except for Strange was able to kill Thanos at some point in that battle. Or it looks like they were fighting on Titan, so maybe, I don't know. Or maybe Ultron, well, in that world, Ultron succeeded. Like, I guess there's no Iron Man and there was no Banner, at least in the Illuminati. So I can only assume that maybe Ultron, you know, was a success, and they had all those Ultron drones. So maybe that's what it is. All right, let me catch up on your comments. Happy birthday, Diamond! Oh, thank you guys for popping that in there. Thank you so much. Excuse me. All right, I love Multiverse of Madness and had Raimi written all over it between the horror. I mean, it really did. It really had his thumbprint. Not on every scene, but enough of the movie to where I was like, okay, this is the glue holding my interest for this movie. Georgie, what's up? Yeah, I'm back. I actually really enjoyed this one, considering how I deal with rumors and whatnot. My expectations were if they show up, they'll show up. If they don't, they don't. Best way to walk into that one. I was going in thinking I was going to see more at first, but then someone kind of tempered my expectations, and I'm so glad they did, because then I feel like I would have been like probably a little bit upset. I've been like, well, wait a minute, I was expecting to see this, which is not really fair to the movie if the movie wasn't really intending to do that. I think there was some of those rumors I think got squashed where the writer came out and said, yeah, we talked about doing, Tom Cruise, but we never filmed anything. Like, I guess it was an idea in a room. We talked about, Tom Cruise as superior Iron Man. We talked about bringing in some X-Men characters. Never filmed it. Never got past the brainstorm stages. So when they came out and said that, I'm like, oh, okay, good. So we were just going off a bunch of dumb rumors again, and I should have known better. Tom says, I give Mom a 9.4. Awesome. Yeah, that's the acronym, right, for this movie. It's Doctor Strange Mom, which is funny because, I mean, motherhood is kind of a theme in the movie with Wanda. So pretty awesome. Yeah, Multiverse of Madness. I liked her a lot, by the way. Scarlet Witch. I saw some people really mad. They thought this was not the character. Like, oh, it's such a departure. And if you go back and watch interviews with Elizabeth Olsen when Age of Ultron came out, they asked her, like, hey, are you a hero now? Like, what's going on? Are you officially a member of the Avengers? And she said something along the lines of, yeah, I am. It looks like that's where we're heading, but I hope one day maybe I can tell a story where I actually lose my mind and become, the true Scarlet Witch and kind of lash out at people and House of M style. And then at the end of WandaVision, she's reading the book of the Darkhold. She's reading it and hearing voices, which just makes sense because Chthon is probably telling her, hey, you maybe lost your children in this reality, but there's other realities with your children in it that you can go and be their mother. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, that this movie picked up right where that left off. So when I saw people like Grace Randolph and other people like complaining about that, I was like, you clearly weren't paying attention, which makes sense. Like, Grace is really good at, in my opinion, is really good at the rumor, gossipy, clickbaity type stuff for her videos. But I think she's an awful reviewer. I actually hardly ever agree with any of her takes on anything, which probably is why I never really enjoyed some of her comic books, the ones she wrote. So I'm not trying to take jabs at her. She's very good at what she does mainly, which is she's like an e-entertainment news type thing for YouTube. She's really great at that. But whenever she reviews stuff, I kind of just skip those videos because I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to watch these. She's probably going to spit something out that I'm just going to roll my eyes at. Like with Wanda. She went on this whole tirade about Wanda, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I thought Wanda picked up right where WandaVision left off, where she's lost and in pain and in grief. And as someone who experienced grief, the past 6 months, I'm kind of past the losing Echo part now. It still hurts to think about Echo, but that beginning was really, really bad for me. And having experienced that and seeing where that can take you, where it could take me, like I think I related to Wanda a little bit, and maybe that's why I see her differently than Grace did in the show or the movie. This is definitely the best directed MCU movie with visually pleasing color grading. Yeah, I got to say the balance of the shots were good. There was a couple I didn't feel like were, but that scene where two Doctor Strangers are fighting with musical notes, the sound design in that scene was so freaking awesome. Even for someone with one ear, I was like blown away by the use of sound in that scene, and I'm sure I'm missing out on some level of the actual full surround experience of it. But for me, when I was watching that scene, I was like, "Wow, this is amazing! This is so amazing!" Hey, X Master, what's up? How's it going, Steve? Have you checked out The Boys season 3? I have. I was going to try to squeeze it in as a topic today, but I don't have time. Work is actually needs me to come in again. I was off yesterday, and then I got called into work. Today I don't have to work a full shift, but I do have to go in for like some kind of meeting that we're having apparently. Um, so yeah, so I got to leave, so I can only do this until about 4 o'clock. So The Boys I'll have to save for a future video. But yes, I have watched season 3, and I'm a big Jensen Ackles fan, and I love Eric Kripke, who's the creator of the show of The Boys, who's adapting it, from the comic. But he was the creator of Supernatural, so yeah, obviously I'm a big fan. So yes, I have seen it. It's great. Um, and the stuff with Soldier Boy and everything, and Homelander was awesome. It's a good reveal. Georgie says, I guess my criticism for the movie is the movie could have been a little longer and do a little bit more to the multiverse aspect. I mean, yeah, sure, I can see that. Like, I could see another like 10 minutes of just really pushing the multiverse stuff. But I feel like you get it. At this point, if you've watched What If, if you watch Spider Man, you kind of understand. I think even mass audiences know. Okay, I get it. There's other worlds and things are different. It's pretty obvious. So I feel like maybe it was cut out. Some of that was cut out because they felt like they were beating a dead horse at that point. Um, so yeah. Um, Let me catch up on comments. Let's see. Yeah, Ultron wasn't evil, so they probably never made Vision. That's what I was thinking too. So she just still ended up having kids with somebody, or made them herself. Yeah, I was expecting some more cameos, but I wasn't disappointed because how great Wanda was. She really worked as a villain. I really did. And like I said, if you go back and watch his interviews with Elizabeth Olsen, she says, "I hope that happens one day," because as an actress and as an actor, and this happens to a lot of actors, they don't want to just play the same thing over and over. Going back to Jensen Ackles, I think there was a season of Supernatural where he had the mark of Cain and he was kind of evil. And he was like, "Hey, I would like to play a different side of Dean because I've been Dean now for 7 or 8 seasons and I would like to do something a little different." Sometimes actors, want that and they want to play a different side of the character. And I don't feel like Wanda. She did some terrible stuff in this movie. The way she killed the Inhumans. Well, yeah, one of the Inhumans, but the way she killed the Illuminati was like really like intense. Like I didn't expect them to go to the level they did. Where granted they didn't show everything, but just the fact that they have the Peggy Carter Captain America gets cut in half with her own shield, and then Mr. Fantastic, who says the dumbest things. Well, Black Bolt can kill you with one sound of his voice, and then she just like erases his mouth and has his head explode when he mumbles. I mean, it was a great scene, but it just made them all look like a bunch of idiots. And I'm like, how did these guys beat Thanos with Captain Obvious, Reed Richards here? But as a big Fantastic Four fan and as a John Krasinski fan, I thought that was a really cool cameo, and I was not expecting that at all in the movie. And when he came in through the teleporting cube, the way Loki and them do with the time thing, it's just more things that tie it to Kang, and my mind was just going crazy. So yeah, I loved all that stuff. So from beyond that, I unfortunately haven't watched anything else through the stuff. Maybe in 2 weeks I'll catch up on stuff. Miss Marvel. Yeah, and we'll talk about Miss Marvel towards the end of this. Actually, you know what? No, yeah, we'll do it towards the end with the Obi-Wan. So we'll do a Disney Plus section at the end of this episode. So, but I won't get into too much spoilers on Miss Marvel, and there's not a ton to spoil, but there are a few things. So I'll save it for the end in case you got to bail out at that time. I'm bringing Miss Marvel when it finishes. Oh, you're gonna binge it? Okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, the bots. I got rid of them. It's all good. Um, Loving the Boys season 3. The finale is gonna be insane. I can't wait, and that's why I'm also gonna save the discussion on it, because I'll wait till it's finished. Yeah, Elizabeth Coulson even said she wants more evil Wanda. Right, which you can still do. I'm pretty sure she's not dead at the end of this movie. Um, but the fact that that whole ending took place at Wondergore Mountain and they summoned demons from Kaban, all that was just right up my alley. That's the part of the Marvel universe I want them to get to, like Blade, Darkhold, Ghost Rider. Um, I want to get into all that stuff, and hopefully they will. There's a Halloween special coming up, I think this year in October. I think it's Werewolf by Night, and that would be really cool if Moon Knight showed up in it. So I don't know. We'll see. Eric says, saw a meme a while back that said Miss Marvel. It said Marvel Phase 4 is brought to you by emotional damage. Emotional damage. I love that. I said that at work yesterday to my boss, and it made her crack up. Tell me more. Tell you more what? Oh, what did I miss? What's up, SP? How's it going? Yeah, emotional damage for sure. So, anyway, in conclusion, we'll wrap up this Doctor Strange thing. Yeah, I liked it overall. I thought it was a really fun movie. It's not, in my top maybe 5 or 10 Marvel movies. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I did enjoy it overall, and I thought with the stuff they did with Wanda and Steven, I thought both were fantastic. Um, and I thought I saw someone online saying, "Oh, well, Rachel McAdams or whatever is just reduced to the one-line girlfriend again." And I thought she had way more emotional weight in this one than even the previous one, because him seeing her marrying somebody else and then seeing a version of her in another world that works for the Baxter Building and lost Steven when they were in love. It's like, and they were both kind of like alone without their significant other, but knew that them two getting together would be stupid because they're not the same Doctor Strange and not the same whatever her name is. I was just trying to defend that Rachel McAdams wasn't just a one note character, and now I can't even remember her name. Yeah, sorry. So there goes the point I was trying to make. Throw it away. Tom says Doctor Strange 2 is above Infinity War. Oh wow. Okay, so really high up there. Was her name Rachel? No, it's not Rachel. No, I don't know. Whatever. And then also bringing in Mordo again, and just having them just kind of brushing over, like, oh yeah, Mordo's been trying to kill me for a couple years now, and then I flipped away, and then I came back, and he's at it again. So I don't know if they'll do a third movie with Mordo in it, but I hope they bring that actor back because I really liked him. And seeing him in this one, I was like, okay, it wasn't a lot, but at least it continued that plot thread that maybe they can pay off in the next movie and have them have a real battle, like the MCU version of Mordo and Doctor Strange. So yeah, all right, let's stop sharing that and let's get the next one up here. Yeah, I kind of wish we saw the Mordo stuff. Yeah, but there's still, because everyone was saying Nightmare was going to be in this movie and more Mordo, and hopefully a lot of those ideas get used for the next one for sure, and hopefully they tie it back in a trilogy way and bring back Dormammu in some capacity. So we'll see. Yes, I have seen the Clerks 3 trailer, and I watched it right when it dropped, and it looks awesome. I'll probably do a separate video on that at some point, but yes, I did see the Clerks 3 trailer, and the fact that it's kind of being meta, where it's like what's his name? Is it Randall? Has like a heart problem, goes in the hospital, much like Kevin did in real life, and then decides, well, I'm gonna have a lot of time to live, so I'm gonna go do my dream thing, which is make my own movie. Which kind of reminds me of that movie Be Kind Rewind, but it also is what happened with Kevin Smith. He was working at the Quick Stop, and then one day just got a bunch of credit cards and raked up $27,000, whatever, and filmed Clerks 1. So I like all that. I thought that was really clever. It's a great way to do a third Clerks movie. So I can't wait to watch it. Diamond, you have a good one, man. No problem. Got to go. It was great catching the stream. I hope I can stay longer next time. No problem. Hope you can too, and hopefully I'll be able to do another one of these. This may be the last one we do in this apartment. The next one may be in the next place, but we'll have to see. So yeah, did see Clerks 3 trailer. It looks awesome. All right, so what's my next one? Let's see here. Oh, all right. Stranger Things. Do I have my? Let me do this real quick. right. You hear that? Does it sound good? Is it too low? Is it too high? Let me know. There's new features on StreamYard. One of them is music. So figured it would add a little bit of something, fill in the negative space. But let me know if you don't like it. I'll kill it. Speaking of emotional damage, yes, Stranger Things 4. So I've never really reviewed, I don't think, any of the show. I may have reviewed season 1 way back when, but it might have been deleted or something. I don't know. Because I think I showed footage of the show in it and got copyright struck or something. So whatever. The show overall, I liked. The first season I really loved. The second season really started to lose me. And because it did all these tropes I don't like, which is like, okay, we have a powerful character like 11. Let's just get rid of her. Let's just send her off on her own side adventure and, to get her away from the main characters so that she can't just wrap up all the problems they're experiencing, in the first few episodes. I didn't really like any of that. I thought the second season felt like they didn't have a plan overall. And then they did that backdoor pilot to try to set up those other powerful characters. And then they never really did much with that, although I feel like they loosely touch on that this season, but without a direct connection. So I don't know if those characters will come back in season 5, but season 2 was kind of a miss for me overall. Season 3 and 4, though, both seasons were amazing. And you want the music a little louder? All right, let's see. Yeah, so overall, there we go. Tell me if that's better. We had a request from Tom. A little louder. Yeah, I really didn't like the sister subplot in season 2. That's what it was. It was some kind of sister angle thing they were doing. Yeah, it wasn't really my thing either. But overall, the show's great. The kids are great. I'm a big fan of Steve and Nancy, and I was totally accepting in season 3 that their paths were just going to go separate ways. But now in season 4, with them hinting at them possibly coming back together, maybe, or a shared interest again in each other, because I don't think Steve ever fell out of love with her, but she definitely fell out of love with him. But what they did with Jonathan this season, her current boyfriend, the nerd from season 1 that she started dating, he became like a pothead loser and just wasn't like hanging out with his brother, and I don't know, I wasn't really digging that. I was like, you're really benching Jonathan, and I thought you could have done some cool stuff with him. But then I see why, because they want that they won't date between Nancy and Steve, which is interesting because then you can go in the next season or final season, potential love triangle thing, and see what happens from there. I think a really heartbreaking thing to do is have that love triangle, and then instead of killing one of the guys like they typically do in love triangle stories, if Nancy died, like killing, sacrifice, killing that guy or whatever, if she died, and leaving the 2 guys behind who was like, well, we both lost the woman we love, that could be an emotional moment too. But Nancy's great. I love that. I love her character. In this season, I thought she was fantastic. And the whole story with 11 and learning who 1 was really cool, and showing the massacre that they set up in the first season of all the other kids being killed, and it possibly being 11 that might have done it. That's why Papa was so mean to her, and it turned out that she actually 1 was set free by 11, and he killed everybody, and she sent him into the Upside Down, and thus creating, this whole mess that they deal with every season. And he's the big bad guy behind everything. I thought that was a cool reveal. Actually, I wasn't expecting that. I thought, because they kept saying this Vecna guy, he's a general for the mind creature thing with all the legs. Turns out this guy, 1 in the Upside Down, took that dust and created the mind creature. So it turns out he's the big bad guy. But now he's injured, but so is the town, and so is Sadie is the actress's name, the young redhead girl who gets mangled up by the end of this episode or end of the season. That whole story was really heartbreaking. Everything with her and Lucas and her playing the music, I thought was really cool. I love the music theme. And actually, it was funny, before the final 2 episodes aired, I was asking people, I was like, hey, what do you think Eddie's gonna play in the final 2 episodes? And coworkers and friends and stuff were like, what do you mean, what's he gonna play? And I'm like, well, they showed in the first episode that he has a guitar collection, so clearly he knows how to play guitar. So he's got to pick up a guitar, right, and go into the Upside Down and like jam out. and maybe weaken Vecna with like a cool heavy metal riff. Like, what song do you think he's going to play? And one of my guesses was Metallica, but I wasn't sure what year, again, this takes place, because it's like kind of just 80s, but I think they're now into the late 80s, so I was thinking, maybe Metallica, but maybe he'll play like Motorhead, or maybe he'll play something. So when it was Master of Puppets, I freaking flipped out. I actually was watching on the couch, I jumped up and just like did like do it. But Eddie is a character I really ended up loving, and that whole scene with Dustin and Eddie's dad at the end was awesome. Like, really, really awesome. Dustin is another great character on the show. And his relationship and friendship with Steve in season 3 was fantastic. And then bringing in Lucas' sister and all the girl that worked with him at the ice cream place, Robin, that group, those 4 were so good in season 3, and I really liked their journey throughout season 4 also. So yeah, all right. So the music's perfect. Nice. It all connects. Yeah, pretty much. It all connects. Eddie, Dustin, Steve, and Will are my favorites. Nice. Yeah, definitely Eddie, Dustin, Steve for me. Will, I like as a character. This season, I feel like he had some real growth. And Will, that whole thing where he was talking to Mike about 11 and essentially confessing, I feel, his feelings for Mike, really, really well done. And then also Will having like that spider sense thing on the back of his neck when danger's coming. I think that's going to be a great tool for them in the next season when they really go up against the shit. And I think it's going to be the final season, right? I think I heard that about season 5. But yeah, Will in the first season was just the kid stuck in the other world, right? So it didn't really, he was the character, but like I didn't feel any kind of feeling towards him at all. Season 3, a little bit more, but definitely season 4, I think they did a lot of great stuff with Will as a character. So yeah, Will was awesome. Vecna Henry, number 1, was awesome. Glad they didn't kill him. Yeah, I thought when he got blown out the window, I thought Steve was going to run downstairs and chop his head off with the axe. Because Steve really didn't do much in that attic. He just was holding the axe, and I kept waiting for him to like swing and like chop, like maybe like Nancy's using the shotgun, and maybe like a tentacle was going to come at her, and maybe Steve would chop it, and maybe that was going to be his job while the 2 girls threw fire and shot him. I was like, give Steve something to do, because he really just chopped a couple tentacles before they went upstairs. And once he was upstairs, he didn't really do anything. So I was thinking he was going to be downstairs to chop Vecna's head off as he was like crawling away. But the fact that they let Vecna live, I'm like, that's great. Because I thought, kill Vecna, and then next season they got to deal with the mind creature still, which is still really powerful. And killed what's her name's brother. So yeah. So I'm really, I'm so glad I caught up on the show. It was awesome. My mom said Black Sabbath, and I said AC/DC. See, I was thinking maybe AC/DC, but because like AC/DC's kind of been entwined in pulp culture lately in the last generation to Iron Man, I think there's like, because AC/DC a lot of their songs were used in Supernatural season 1, and then when Disney started putting AC/DC songs in Iron Man movies, Supernatural, when they got syndicated, they no longer could keep the rights to the AC/DC music. So if you watch Supernatural on Blu-ray or on Netflix or on, I think Netflix also, yeah, Blu-ray, Netflix, and TBS, or whatever one of those stations are that show the reruns. If you watch Supernatural on those, the first 5 seasons, they don't have any of their original music, or most of their original music is not there. They had to put in new music because they couldn't get the rights back for whatever reason for AC/DC. So only the DVDs, which I own all of Supernatural on DVD for that reason. I wanted all the original music. So I was thinking AC/DC, then I was like, yeah, probably not because of the whole Disney thing. But Black Sabbath, that's a good guess too. But yeah, Master of Puppets, that scene was amazing. So in the end, I'm glad I caught up on the show again. It was so awesome. Season 3 and 4 pulled me back into that world big time. Reminded me of why I liked it so much based on the first season, and whatever they tried with season 2, but for me it was just a big miss. Not all of season 2, but enough of it to where I probably will just never watch season 2 again. I'll probably just skip it and just watch 1, 3, and 4. That's just how I feel about it. All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, we'll keep the music going. Let's see here. So this one will probably be pretty quick with. We have 2 DC shows I want to talk about. And they keep switching. Here we go. Let's see if we can pick a different song too. All right, this song is called Into Space. All right. So let's talk about Superman and Lois. I don't know if anyone here watches this show. I know if Tevia was here, he and I would be nerding out right now. So Superman and Lois, season 1, I really, really loved. It's a really cool take on Superman. It's Superman as a dad, which I know we've seen versions of that. We've seen episodes of different shows where it's in the future or he's in another reality or whatever. But doing a whole show where most of the drama of the show comes from him being a dad and then starting a family, it's so neat. It's really, really well done. The writing is very clever at times. It's very CW at other times, but they do things in this show that I think are just really neat. As a longtime Superman fan, I find myself really pulled into this show a lot. Superman is not the best dad, which I like. Like, he's struggling. He has 2 teenage boys. He's decided to quit his job at the Daily Planet. His mom just passed away back in Smallville. And in this reality, his dad already died of the heart attack. And then his mom has been living in Smallville by herself. He's gone back a few times to see her. But he kind of drifted away from her a little bit. And so she's passed now. And she left their old house to him, to Clark. And so he asked his family, can we move out of Metropolis? 2 teenage boys who grew up in Metropolis their whole life and have friends there and are dating and have lives there. He wants them to just pick everything up and move to the middle of nowhere in Kansas and into Smallville, a town that has not really grown much over the last 20 years or whatever since Clark's been there. All these things I find very relatable and connect to on a lot of levels. And him going back home and realizing that I'm not Jor-El and I'm not Pa Kent. Like, I had 2 of the best dads. One who sacrificed everything to give me a shot to be alive and send me to another planet. And then the exact opposite of him in some ways, just a farmer, not a brilliant scientist who could send me to another world, but a guy who works with his hands every day and gets up at the crack of dawn and is like, living the American dream, has a farm, has his wife, and is hardworking. I had 2 of the best dads in the world. I can't live up to that. And I'm trying and I'm failing and my kids don't talk to me. My wife and I get into arguments. Like, it's just a cool, it's normal, but that's what I like about it is like Superman, it's putting the man back in the character in a way and grounding him with these really real domestic and family issues that I find immensely fascinating. And season 1, they were trying to set up that Lex Luthor from another world was a villain. He was African American, and everyone was, woke show, blah 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 blah. And it's so funny because all those guys who said that ate their words, because you find out he's not actually Lex Luthor. I don't know if I want to spoil it for those of you who don't know, but it's the reveal of who that guy is so good. It's so good, and it made me love the show even more. So the first season was great. It dealt with Tal, who is Superman's brother. He was on Earth disguised as Morgan Edge. Turns out that was a fake name. He was sent out of Krypton also, just like Clark was, and landed on Earth, but he landed somewhere in the UK, and he did not grow up with good people or good family members, or didn't have a good life like Clark did, and now has found Clark in Smallville and is trying to bring more Kryptonians to Earth, and that was kind of the story of the first season. And then meanwhile, like I said, you thought there was a alternate universe Lex Luthor as another villain, and that turned out to be a twist of the story. But I think the show really, I think it was episode 3 or 4, the episode that really brought it home for me and made me love this show was the whole episode was about a bench, pretty much, and Ma Kent. There were people in town that were like, oh yeah, your mother, she used to sit on that bench all the time. And if I had a problem, I'd go over and sit with her and she would talk to me about it. He was like, so that bench, after she passed, we put a plaque on that bench for your mom. And it says, for it says like, Martha Kent, the town's ears or whatever, the town's helper or whatever it was. It said something really nice about her. And Clark was like, why this bench? Why would she sit on this bench every day when we have a farm, we have things we got to do? I think she paid someone to come and, do the crops and stuff. And he goes, but why? Why would she sit on this bench every day where people would come and talk to her? And then he found out why. It was the bench he left her on when he realized he was Superman and had to go. He had the crystal and he was going to go build the fortress and he wanted to become Superman. He got on a bus and left town, and the bus station used to be right where that bench was. And his mom has been sitting on that bench waiting for him for like 20 years to come back home. That to me was the clincher. I was like, this show is much better than I thought this show would ever be. That was a very emotional moment. And once I got to that episode, I was like, I'm in. I'm always going to remember this show for this episode. So yeah, it's really, really good. I got to watch this, been meaning to, but I've been caught up on other shows. Yeah, I don't blame you. There's like a million shows out there. I literally just watched these shows that we're going to talk about today, and that's it. If I watch any more, my head will explode. Well, I guess I watched The Boys, but yeah, but we got one episode left, so I'll do a separate episode on that one. Been caught up in the show, plus Harley Quinn season 3 in July, and then Better Call Saul ends in July. So yeah, you got to binge that. Well, I'm telling you, when you're ready to, you got to binge Superman and Lois. It's so good. It's in my opinion, the best CW show since Smallville, and I think it's better than Smallville already. And I loved Smallville, but this take on Superman, it's just great because when Smallville came out, it was a show like I was young, I was in high school or just graduated, and I related to Clark a lot. Now we have this show where I feel like I relate to Clark coming back to the East Coast, after living in a big city like Los Angeles. And it's like, there's a lot of things, being closer to my mom. It's like, it's making more decisions, trying to be closer to family and try to be in my nephew's life a little bit more. And these are all things that I'm like, wow, the show and I like are paralleled, kind of like how me and Smallville were when that came out, I guess. VC, what's up, dude? Welcome. He says, at work so I can listen in, but I hope everyone is doing well. Hey, we hope you're doing well too, man. Don't get in trouble. Don't get in trouble for us. Season 2 of this show, though, is amazing. They bring in a new villain, Ali Alster. She's kind of a cult leader who wants to merge worlds. So they do a whole crisis thing where you see two planets coming together and the sky turns red. And you get some new characters brought in. Some of the characters from season 1 come back. I don't want to get into too many spoilers for Tom and other people who might not have seen the show yet. I understand it doesn't have a lot of high ratings for this show, but I'm telling you, if you're a Superman fan, I feel like you'll get a lot out of this show. Yes, it's a little goofy and silly at times, but I feel like overall, it's really shown me, like it's put in twists in the show that even I didn't see coming. And that I got to give the show credit for. And they're good twists too. So, yeah, I'm really digging this. And they brought in some other, like I said, new characters, people from other worlds. And they definitively said in this episode or this season that this show does not take place on the same Earth as Supergirl. Because Supergirl, that show ended with her revealing that she's Kara, like she revealed her human identity to the world. And everyone was kind of wondering, well, how does that affect Clark? Because Clark and Lois, these two actors and actresses are played Superman and Lois on the Supergirl show sometimes. So everyone thought it was all connected. But in this one, they definitively say the only superhero this world has is this Superman. They don't mention Supergirl at all. So this is clearly something that is set on a separate Earth. And that's great because then you don't really have to watch anything else to get involved with this. Although there is one confusing thing about that because I feel like that decision was made last minute. Because I think they referenced Supergirl in season 1, but season 2 they say that she doesn't exist. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was the Earth's merging and screwed everything up. Who knows? But John Diggle shows up this season twice, I think. And one time it was kind of just whatever, pointless. But the second time he shows up with a mission for one of the characters I don't want to speak about to set up season 3. And so it looks like in season 3, they're going to bring in Intergang and Bruno Mannheim, which could possibly lead to Darkseid. So, because in the comics, Intergang worked for Darkseid on Earth. So I'm really hoping they do something like that. Because so far this show, the villain of first season I didn't like too much, but then that villain came back this season and I liked him way more. The villain of this season I didn't really like at all, and I hope we never see that villain again. But so far they're like the effects are pretty good and like the stories have been pretty good. So if they do a version of Darkseid, I just hope he's not like Smallville's Darkseid where he's like a mist cloud that goes into people. If they do Darkseid, I hope they actually show a guy in a suit or a CGI thing, something, but not a smoke monster, please. All right, so let's stop this one. Let's get into my next show, Young Justice. All right. So we're going to dive into Young Justice here. Young Justice Season 4 is called Phantoms, but I've never really done a full review of the first 3 seasons. Let me just say, if you're a fan of the Batman animated series, or like me, the Superman animated series, not that I don't like Batman too, it's great, then Justice League, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, Zeta Project, like that whole Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett, kind of shared cartoon universe thing. If you're ever a fan of that, you really got to watch Young Justice. Basically, the show is about all the sidekicks. In season 1, the Justice League they've been doing it for 10 years. They've been superheroes for 10 years as the Justice League. So they're essentially treated like celebrities. They can't do anything in the public without people knowing about it. They show up somewhere, there's cameras, there's people pulling out their phones, showing what they're doing, and that makes it easier for Lex Luthor and the Legion of Doom and all the villains to keep track, or the Light, as they call themselves. It's like a united group between different planets of villains, Darkseid, Vandal Savage, Lex Luthor. All these villains have all united because now they're studying every move the heroes make, and they're able to anticipate their next moves now. And it's making fighting evil really hard for the Justice League. So what they end up doing is they create a black ops team of all their sidekicks. So you got like Robin, and they don't do this intentionally. Basically, Robin, Aqualad, Kid Flash, like they choose to be their own heroes. Superboy, they're like, we're gonna just fight crime and do our thing. So either get on board or get out of the way. So Batman's like, fine, I'll give you our old hideout in something mountain. I can't remember. He's like, I'll give you Happy Harbor. He's like, I'll give you our old hideout in the mountain at Happy Harbor, and we'll bring in Miss Martian and a couple other teammates, Artemis and stuff, and you guys can go do little side missions that but you got to stay off the radar. You got to basically be ninjas. It's so cool, and that's pretty much what seasons 1 and 2 are. But there's like a 5-year jump between seasons 1 and 2. So when season 2 starts, you see Robin and Superboy in the sewers, and they're fighting Clayface, and you're like, whoa, okay, this is great. They're getting right into the action. And then Superboy says, hey, thanks, Tim. And you're like, wait, Tim? And then he goes, and then Robin picks up his earpiece and goes, all right, he goes, Robin to Nightwing. He's like, Clayface is down. And then they cut to Nightwing, and it's like, Dick Grayson, who's like 14 in the first season, he's like 18 now or 19 now. And he's the leader of the Outsiders, this like Black Ops team within the Black Ops team. And it's like, it just starts getting so crazy. All the spying and the lying and all the stuff they got to do to keep their secrets safe, to stay ahead of the villains. It just gets so crazy. And then they get into season 3 with meta-human trafficking, because you got to think like, okay, if there's people starting to pop up around the world with powers, like Geoforce in his home country, him and his sister have powers, and people are starting to get kidnapped. Kids are being kidnapped and trafficked around the world that have powers to be sold into armies for different countries and stuff. They deal with like human child trafficking in season 3, so real issues that they deal with, but with like layered superhero stuff on top of it. And then season 3 was essentially about a wedding between Superboy and Miss Martian that gets screwed up in the early episodes. And then you think certain characters die, and you're kind of following that adventure throughout season 4 while you're hearing the origins of Vandal Savage and him trying to fall out of the light and step away from Darkseid. And so you got all these big stories. Beast Boy is going through clinical depression, having lost so many friends, being a Teen Titan Young Justice member / Outsider member. He's lost so many friends, and he's trying to deal with that. And they even bring in something from the recent comics called Sanctuary, which was like a Tom King idea, where some of these kids they're just traumatized. They have PTSD because since they were 14 up to like 20, they've been fighting villains and they've seen friends die and all these horrible things have happened to them. So at the end of season 4, they create Sanctuary so that these kids have a place to go and talk to someone about what they're going through. And I was like, okay, that works in the context of the show. But one of the other things they did was they connected this universe, Young Justice, to an existing DC cartoon. If you've never watched the Green Lantern CGI cartoon, if you have HBO Max, watch it. It's so good. It's made by Bruce Timm also. It's 26 episodes. They only did one season. And it's really, really well done. There's a character in that show called Razor. At the end of the series, he goes off into the universe with a Blue Lantern ring trying to find someone he loves. And in this show, Razor shows up with his Blue Lantern ring in one of the episodes, and they do a whole 2-part Tomar Ray episode where Tomar Ray dies. He talks about how he should have saved Krypton from exploding because that was in his sector, which is something they referenced in the comics before. And now he's trying to prevent another planet from being destroyed in this season, and it costs him his life. And so Razor shows up with the Blue Lantern ring to help out, and Kilowog says, hey, I'll tell Hal that you came by, that we found you. And he's like, did you ever find Aya, the one you love? And he's like, I'm still looking. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so good. And he says, like, we haven't seen you in like a year. So I guess during that 5-year gap between seasons, that's when the Green Lantern show probably took place, some of it. So I'm loving it. And the fact that they connected it to that show, which I also love. So I'm wondering what other animated shows connect to it. So Tom says, watch this one as a kid, but I never knew it was still going. That's cool. So the thing was with this show is it did 2 seasons and then it got canceled. But there were so many fan petitions online. I signed dozens of them. And I think, there was 3 major ones, but there was like a dozen or 2. Everyone I could find, I would sign it. Any hashtag I could share. It was the only time I've ever been really active on something, much like how people were fighting for the Snyder Cut. I was really part of a small group that was really pushing for Young Justice. And I even was on message boards under like fake names that were like references to the show and stuff. And I was so like into this show. Well, they brought it back. And I actually befriended Brendan Vietti, who's one of the creators of the show, when I lived in LA. And he would invite me to some of the animated movie premieres he did for the DC stuff, like Under the Red Hood and some of the Lego movies he did. So really awesome guy. And obviously I have interviews with him and Sam Liu, who worked on The Batman, which is one of my favorite Batman cartoons. I have part 1 up and part 2 will be up sometime. I'm taking forever, I know, but I'll have the second part up at some point. So yeah, just a big fan of Brandon. He's a great guy, and this show has been awesome. So they brought it back for a 3rd season, and they put it on the DC Universe app. And then after it aired, I think 2 years later, because during COVID, I think they were working on season 4, and then they just started releasing 4 in January of this year. So yeah, I think there was like a good 6-year gap or 4-year gap between seasons 2 and 3, or maybe longer, maybe 5 or 6 years. So yeah, if you have HBO Max, all 4 seasons are on there. I highly recommend checking it out. Young Justice is awesome. All right, let's stop that one. What do we got next? Ace, do you know what's up? I should have brought my drink out here. I totally forgot. My mouth's going dry. You all right back there, bud? Hey. Hey. I love you. I love you. Yeah. All right. Little intermission to love on Ace. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we'll keep this music going because it's called Into Space, and here we are, Into Space with Obi-Wan Kenobi. This show I see now online. So normally when I watch shows weekly, I stay away from other people's reviews of them until I've seen the whole show and kind of surmise what my thoughts are, and then I'll go watch people's reviews. So I didn't know any hate about this show that was being given to them by, Star Wars fans and stuff, until I finished the show. So, and the weird thing is I really enjoyed this show. I wasn't. I was hoping to, but hold on, I got an itchy nose. Um, I was hoping to like this show, and I'm glad I did. I'm a big fan of Rebels, the Star Wars cartoon, and because of that show, made me go back and watch Clone Wars, which I also fell in love with. And then because of that, I watched the new season of Clone Wars, and then into Bad Batch, which I'm totally caught up on now. So that whole shared timeline between episodes 3 and 4, with those, with Clone Wars into Rebels, that's some of my favorite Star Wars stuff. I know it's gonna sound blasphemous. Of course, I like the original movies. Not like nothing touches those. So I'm going outside that, and I'm saying like for me, outside of that, Rebels and Clone Wars cartoons and Bad Batch are among my favorite Star Wars stuff. Dave Filoni and all of his team and everyone that worked on those shows nailed it for me. So to set this show 4 years before Rebels, I think is roughly the timeline. I got a little worried because I'm like, oh, they're going to do things in this that are probably going to contradict the movies and Rebels. They do, big time. They contradict stuff in the movies to an extent, and they contradict things that happen on Rebels almost, but then they kind of fix it in a way. So, yeah, I guess if you read too much into it, it all falls apart. But as a show about Obi-Wan and putting him on an adventure, this one I wasn't expecting. Like this whole time for years, we've been saying like, oh, if they do an Obi-Wan show, what's it going to be about? Or a movie, like what's it about? He's just going to be on Tatooine watching over Luke. Like who cares? That's going to be so boring. Like he's just got to keep, someone's coming to kill Luke and he's got to keep them safe and make sure they don't radio the Empire and let them know. That seems kind of, could be tense, but it sounds boring too. So to have him have to go and save Leia, I was like, never thought of that. I actually never thought of that idea. And because of that, that's what made me like the show. I was like, no, I like that concept. Yeah, you could say, Leia, when she grows up, I mean, she is the one who sends the distress signal out, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. So she totally got that from somewhere. And so to me, it doesn't seem like a big deal that she met him as a kid. But the girl who played her was awesome. I thought she was snarky and kind of an asshole kid. But I thought that worked. Like I thought her whole, she was very just sure of things at times, but she was also wrong at times too. And she was naive as a kid, but she was also, because she's so defiant, when the villains got a hold of her, I didn't feel like, because some people were, I think on one of the reviews I saw, they were like, oh, come on, she's going to withstand, a Jedi probe into her mind or something like that. And I'm like, well, she kind of did and kind of didn't. But yeah, I mean, she's a stubborn a-hole. And that's who the character is sometimes. And that's what I liked about her and about the performance. So Ewan McGregor, seeing him again was amazing. Hayden Christensen, it was great to see him out of costume and in costume, because I guess that was him walking around. He has some issues where he's not as tall as maybe Vader should be, but all those things don't really bother me too much as long as I'm pulled in. And that scene where he pulls Obi-Wan through the fire, I loved. The final battle they had, I loved, although I wish it would have just ended with the rocks falling on Obi-Wan and then Vader thinking Obi-Wan died. Because then it's like, okay, that would explain why Vader doesn't go looking for him anymore. But I guess they kind of touch on that where the Emperor tells Vader, like, don't go looking for him. Your emotions are getting in the way. And I'm like, well, why? Aren't you guys out there hunting Jedi? Like, but I guess that's the Emperor's thing. He wants to move on. He wants him and Vader to rule the galaxy, and he wants the Inquisitors to go do all that dirty work. But so I guess it kind of makes sense too. So that's what I'm saying. I could play devil's advocate going back and forth. But because I have to, it takes a little bit of enjoyment out of the show. But overall, like I really, really, I kind of dug this show. There are points in it where I kind of rolled my eyes, and there were points in it where I'm like, like when they killed the Grand Inquisitor in the first episode, I was like, wait, is that the same Inquisitor from Rebels? Or is that, I know that's a title that can be passed on, but what are the odds of them finding the guy of the same race? But honestly, the guy who played Grand Inquisitor in this show, I didn't like at all. They should have got Jason Isaacs. I think he was the voice of the Inquisitor in the Rebels cartoon, and he's such a great actor. I would have loved if they got Jason Isaacs to come in and do that. Maybe they tried and couldn't. I don't know. But yeah, I would have liked that for sure. Hold on. This was good. I just think some potential characters are wasted and overused. There was definitely that. I thought the whole reveal about Reva, who I don't know if I didn't see anyone else mention this in their reviews, but I didn't watch a ton of reviews either, just a couple. There was a Darth Revan at one point, and Reva's name is just Revan without the N. So I'm like, is she like a descendant of his? Because she was like a Jedi, but then like she went to the dark side to become an Inquisitor, but then she went back to the light side. I'm like, I thought only Vader was supposed to do that. I thought only Vader could. He's the one who brings balance, right? And I thought bringing balance meant you go from one side back to the other. So I have no idea. I'm like, her character I really didn't like that much, and I saw a lot of other people hate on her character for different reasons. But for me, I just kind of was like, I don't know. I didn't really dig her on the show. She seemed to have way too many answers. She seemed to be in the right place at the right time, but then she would say, "Oh, it's because I willed myself here, or I learned this." And she just had information that she couldn't probably possibly have had on some level. And even though they revealed that she was a youngling that Vader tried to kill and she got away, I get that. And then they revealed even more, like Vader knew the whole time that she, like as she was working her way towards working under Vader, he knew and he just let her. That also just felt like a last minute thing where they were like, oh, we can't have her really one up Vader because that would make him look stupid, whatever. So we got to have Vader reveal that he actually knew the truth, the whole time. And it just felt like a lot of that kind of writing. And I was like, ugh, I think this probably could have been probably a solid 4-episode show, like do like an hour each episode, a solid hour, and just do 4 really tight episodes. I will say, because we're about to get into Miss Marvel here in a second, in a few minutes, the 6-episode thing doesn't always work. I loved Moon Knight, but I probably would have condensed some of episode 3, 4 into one episode and maybe done a 5-episode season. I feel like this whole thing where they're like, we got to do 6. No, do what makes sense for the story. We talked about this with the Netflix shows. The Netflix Marvel shows, Daredevil I loved, but there was like one season 2 felt like I had a little bit of filler at times. Not a ton, but just a little bit. But Daredevil was the best out of those 3 shows, or those 4 or 5 shows. All the other ones, I felt like they could have been cut down to like 6 episodes. And that's the problem. When you decide, all right, this is how many episodes we're going to do, I think you're already restricting yourself creatively. You should just go, hey, here's our budget. Let's start writing a story. Let's make it as tight as possible. Make it, so there's no filler or very little filler. And let's see how much that would expand out to 4 episodes, 5 episodes, 6 episodes, and let the story dictate that. I feel like they kind of did that with Wanda. That's why Wanda was 9 episodes long, and they were like the first 5 were 20 minutes each, and then the last 3 were like 40 minutes or whatever, or the last one was 40 minutes, whatever it turned out to be. That seemed to be like them writing the story and then just going. But Falcon, Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, even Loki, which I liked, but still felt like it could have done probably a solid 5 episodes instead of 6. I feel like they need to get better at that, and they shouldn't just say it's going to be this many episodes, because they should really work on the story first if they can. And I know it's a business and that you can't always start with story and then work your way into the production part of it, but I feel like they could make a better effort. Yeah, the Inquisitors were pretty mad, I felt like. Eric, the Zach Braff cameo in the show was nice. Really? Zach Braff was in the show? That's funny. I didn't even know that, actually. Who was he in the show? Where did he pop up? I'm trying to think, where he would have popped up. Was he he wasn't the kid that was running away from the Inquisitors, was he? Yeah, I can't remember. Was he a stormtrooper? Because I know they do that sometimes. They have actors show up as stormtroopers and give them 2 or 3 comedic lines and move on. So maybe that's what it was. The thing that took me out is that he tried to build suspense with Leia and Luke when already knew those characters make it out unscathed. I mean, that was the thing. Pretty much you weren't afraid anything was going to happen to her because you know her future. And that does take some of the out of tension when you're trying to build tension. It absolutely does. Same with Obi-Wan. You know he's going to live too. So that's one of the things. Anytime him and Vader fought, you're kind of like, well, they're fighting, which I wasn't expecting them to, but like, you know the outcome. It's kind of like, well, in Rebels it was a little different because Vader would fight like Kanan or Ahsoka, and you're like, wow, are they going to kill Ahsoka? Or oh my God, they're going to kill Kanan. They did, by the way. But yeah, and also one of the other Inquisitors, the seventh brother, he's on Rebels. He was also in this show, so I knew nothing was going to happen. I knew Reva wasn't going to like turn on him and kill him at any point. So yeah, it does take a little bit of that oomph out for sure. Zach Braff played the mole guy. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. I also liked the guy who played part of the Alliance. I don't want to. I think I know what actor he is, but I don't want to say because I could be wrong. But anyway, the black guy who was part of the Rebel Alliance, he was great, and the girl that was like an Imperial officer that turned out to be a rebel, she was great. I liked her. And Kumail Nanjiani, who I've met a few times, is a really nice guy. Him as like a fake Jedi dude, that was awesome. He was like a grifter, but then had like a moment where he got to do something kind of selfless and heroic, but then went right back to grifting by the end of the show. Like I thought that was awesome. I thought he was great in the show. So yeah, Eric says he was the guy on the tram taking Kenobi and Leia to the meeting spot. Oh, get out of here. That guy. Okay. That mole guy. That was cool. That scene there where they're all sitting and all the stormtroopers come in and they start questioning Obi-Wan, and then Leia like went right into that lie about their mother and everything. I was like, wow, that was good stuff. That was a good scene. I gave Rebels a bad rep as a kid, but I really like it as an adult, and I love what they did with Darth Maul in that show. Darth Maul has a great arc in that show. Big time. Like, and that's, if you ever want to know what the fate of Darth Maul is, because obviously he comes back in Clone Wars and with robot legs and everything. So if you ever want to know what happens to Darth Maul, you really should watch Rebels. It's really, really well done. And he also appeared in a cameo in Han Solo's movie. So yeah, if you want to know the fate of Darth Maul, check out Rebels. It's really good. So yeah, so Obi-Wan overall, okay. I would say probably like I don't know, maybe like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Like I'm like in the mid, like a little bit above the middle on it. Like I was like, okay, there's the stuff I liked, I really, really liked. And then the rest I was kind of like, some of it's forgettable. But there was a couple of good scenes in that show that I'm like, these are great scenes. And some of the cinematography on it worked for those scenes. And then there were some scenes that looked really flat and boring, which, it's hard to make a desert look cool sometimes, I guess. But, not everyone can be like, making like Lawrence of Arabia, where you just make it look very epic and big. It just looked very flat a lot of times. But overall, it was an enjoyable show. And I don't know if I'd watch I guess I would watch a second season if I love Ewan McGregor. But I don't know what they would do in a second season, because now he's back on Tatooine. He's going to go meditate and talk to Qui-Gon. So I assume what happens next is Rebels takes place. He has a cameo or two in Rebels, and then you get the Darth Maul thing. So you don't really need to do another season, because we kind of know what happens to Obi-Wan after this, and then we know where he goes into the original trilogy after that. So, all right, Eric, you have a good one, man. Take care. Thanks so much for being here. Stay hydrated. Yeah, I know I should have brought a drink out. I'm so stupid. I even had juice. I wasn't going to drink soda today. I had like some good juice. All the Darth Vader stuff was great, at least. I agree. I thought the Vader stuff in the show overall was well done. So I dug it. All right, last show. Let's change the music too. Get a second. Let me go get the music. Put some lo-fi on. There we go. All right, Miss Marvel. So let's get into this. Now, there's only been 5 episodes as of the recording of this stream. So we are we don't have the finale yet. The first episode of this show I really liked. I thought it had a great balance of the type of humor that you can expect throughout the show, It had a little bit of mystery about what was going on with Kamala, where her powers came from, because I don't know too much about the character, but I do know in the comics she's an Inhuman, and I don't know much beyond that, to be honest with you. So having this whole new thing with her being a Jinn and tying into that, that's really neat to me. It helps expand the Marvel Universe in a way, which Moon Knight did, and I think some other shows they have planned are aiming to do as well. Because I even heard some rumors about Blade, and that Blade, I think they're going to tie him to like Muslim culture, and that could be interesting for a character like Blade. So Miss Marvel here, the young lady who plays her is awesome. She's very quirky and like funny in like a Peter Parker kind of way. And that's what the vibe I got from the first episode was that, okay, this is like a New York centric show. You got this like young, kind of hip nerd girl, but she's like definitely an outcast in a lot of ways, from like the popular kids in school, but she's not like turned upside down and put in getting swirlies or anything like that extreme. But she is kind of like a little bit of an outcast. So I kind of was like, well, I like that. It was a good setup for the show. But as the show's been progressing, I feel like the episodes are just kind of all over the place. They do this thing where I can understand why they don't do it too much, because they probably don't want people to compare it and say it's a ripoff of something like a Scott Pilgrim or anything. But I like some of the visuals they do. When she's walking and texting like a friend, the street signs around her will say the text that she's texting, so that you as an audience member can read it, and she's not like saying it out loud, because most people wouldn't, as they're texting someone, wouldn't read it out loud to themselves. So I kind of like all those visual styles they put in the show. They play with color a lot. They play with transition a lot, from going from one scene to another. I thought the first episode nailed that really well and really made me excited to watch the rest of the show. And then I would say every episode since, I've liked certain parts of the show. I certainly like the main girl, and I like Bruno, or whatever, her friend, the kid who's like the tech geek gadget kid. I like the two of them. And then her friend that was like running to be like a leader at their temple or their mosque. She was a really neat character. But then she's kind of gone away, and they brought in the villains, who are the clandestine, who are like in the comics really stupid villains. I've never even cared about the clandestine group ever in the comic books, and I've only seen them pop up a few times. But every time they pop up, I'm like, skip. It's like a fast forward. So I'd pick up a comic in the grocery store and be like, I'll put that back. I'm not going to read the clandestine. They're kind of boring. I never really liked those characters, but they put a neat twist on them for the show to kind of make them fit in with the background of Kamala and her family and the Jinn and all that stuff. But I'm not really, they're kind of two-dimensional so far. The first episode was like, okay, it's a teen show, it's going to be this. Then the second episode, they play on that more, but it starts drifting into the next phase. And then you get into episodes 3 and 4, which is about her, getting ready to go back to Pakistan, and she's like learning more about her culture and her family, and getting answers from the villains, who then she's friends with them at first, and then they turn on her pretty quickly because she won't give over the wrist bracelet that she has. And everything's either happening too fast, to where the exposition, it almost feels like you need more of it to kind of keep up, or or the exposition falls to the wayside, and they go, okay, we're just going to show you a bunch of stuff, and then we'll kind of go back and fill you in a little bit. And it's like, it feels very disjointed at times and kind of paced badly. And this is, I think, one of those ideas where I'm like, this probably could have been a solid 4 episodes. Each one, exactly one, not the 40-minute thing, because why are you doing that either? You're not on network TV. I feel like they're trying to follow a lot of rules of network TV. I'm like, this is not airing with ads on Fox or something, This is a show that you control. So you can make it 57 minutes long and do 3 minutes of credits and make it an hour or around an hour every episode. So this whole 40-minute thing, I'm like, I don't know why you're trying to follow some formula from some dated technology of how TV was presented, when now we stream, we don't have to do that. And that goes for other shows too. Other shows do it too, where they do the 40-minute thing. And I'm like, why? There's no commercials playing. Like, you don't have to do this. Superman and Lois makes sense. It airs on CW. So I understand why it's 40 minutes. But shows like this, I don't get it. And same with like Obi-Wan and other shows. I don't get it. To me, I would have just made 4 solid 1-hour episodes where you get through her story, make it about a teen angst thing and build up stuff, give her some answers, and then end the season where, okay, I got to go to Pakistan and then season 2, you can actually fly to, somewhere overseas and film. Whereas it's clear they're not actually in Pakistan in these episodes. I don't know where they're at, but the scene where she gets out of the airplane in episode 4 or whatever it was, and they kind of like play with the colors, so they dim everything so you can't see past a certain threshold, just makes me feel like either they had a small set or they dressed up an American airport with signs that make it look like she's in Pakistan or something. So it feels a little cheap in that regard. And it's not very clever, and it doesn't fit in with the cleverness that I thought the first episode had. So the show has been losing me, and I hope it sticks the landing. I hope the final episode's as good as the first one. But these middle episodes, I'm like, cut some of this story, make it a clearer, through line of what she needs to learn through the season to get her to the point where she's ready to be in the next Captain Marvel movie. Like, figure all that out and just keep to the essentials. But I feel like they try to throw in so many things in the season that it feels long. I mean, she's had almost 3 love interests in this season, which is weird. She's had, like, Bruno is in, head over heels for her, but she's like not into him so much, but they're still friends, so they hang out. So that's kind of one relationship. Then she meets Cameron, and they kind of flirt with each other, and then he turns out to be one of the bad guys, so then there's some tension there. Then she goes in the 4th and 5th episodes, and she meets the Red Dagger kid, and then they start flirting and eating food together on the beach, and you're just like, oh my God, dude, like, I understand hormones and all that stuff at that age or whatever they're trying to get in there, but, like, I mean, I guess we're all Peter Parker fans and stuff, and so Peter Parker has, like, the one love interest. It's either MJ or Gwen or, and I know in the comics he's had, like, Betty Brant and stuff like that, but again, most of the interpretations in the movies and stuff, they've tried to keep it simple, and that's what you want to do. So her having, like, 3 potential love interests in 5 episodes, I'm like, wow, okay, slow down. Like, just pick, or just make one of them, like, Bruno, I guess, is clearly a friend in a way, but he doesn't want to be a friend, so you kind of root for him. But then she meets a good-looking guy, like, or a better-looking guy, I guess. Nothing against the kid who plays Bruno, but then she meets this other kid who she's more attracted to, I should say, and you're following that relationship, and it falls apart, and then she kind of shows flirty eyes towards the Red Dagger kid, and you can maybe argue, okay, maybe that's more of just like a friend or a partner relationship, but it doesn't feel that way the way they looked at each other. So it's like, rein it in if you can. But I feel like this show there's a lot here that's good, but now whenever they do the text thing in episodes 4 and 5, it feels forced. It doesn't feel natural anymore because they drifted so far away from the vibe of the first episode to get into these other tones and vibes. So that whole thing just doesn't work anymore. So whenever they do it, like in episode 5, she was texting someone, and I was like, or 4, maybe it was 4 on the airplane, and it just didn't. I was like, yeah, that doesn't have the same impact as it did in the first episode, where they had these cool transitions. They're kind of losing it, and so for that reason, that was the thing that made the show unique and kept my interest. And now I'm kind of drifting from it. So, yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's losing me, and if it doesn't have a good final episode, I don't know if they do a season 2 if I'll watch it, to be honest with you. But it sucks because I think the cast is good. I think the young lady who plays her is great. She reminds me a lot of like a Peter Parker type character. She's kind of a smart aleck, but she's like sincere, and she just wants to go have fun. But in doing so, it breaks the heart of her parents, which, we've all been there at some point where we disobey our parents, and it hurts them. And it really does. It hurts when you do something they tell you not to do. So seeing all that and everything, and those are the things that I like in the show, and they just don't do enough of it to make the show feel like it has a singular vision and voice and tone. It just feels kind of like a hodgepodge, which is like, I guess that makes sense because the girl, she feels like she's stuck between 2 worlds and answers and questions, and I guess so. It's probably a deliberate thing, but it still doesn't. I don't know. I'm not vibing with it that much. Tom says, I've heard that Miss Marvel actually feels like a show instead of a prolonged movie. Most of the Disney Plus shows, which sounds great. It does feel like a show, but it does also feel like I'm watching 2 seasons, stories jammed into one, which Superman and Lois did that. And I thought they did that better than this. And they had more episodes to do it with, which normally you would think that would make the show drag or feel like it's dragging on. but it didn't. I thought they did a great job with it. So this one, it definitely feels like a show for sure, but also feels a little discombobulated at times, I feel. But yeah, Disney restricts them a lot. I mean, probably. I'm sure they do, but I'm sure Kevin Feige also is able to argue at least more than a few things. Like, if let's say if Disney says we hate these 4 things or don't do these 4 things, I'm sure Kevin Feige is at the point now where they trust him enough to where he could probably come in and say, well, the compromise is these. You don't like these 4 things, well, we're still going to do 2 of them, and then the other 2 we'll do it your way, or we'll cut them. Maybe that's the kind of influence or power he still has. But I don't know. I feel like he should be able to come in and say, no, we're going to do it our way. And that way, if it doesn't work, Disney should be able to go, okay, well, you tried it your way last time, so this time maybe listen to some of our notes. But yeah, so I don't know all the behind the scenes of these kind of shows. I never really looked too much into this stuff, and I know how shows and things are typically made, but I'm sure this is a completely different animal because of how successful Marvel's been. It's got to be run completely differently in a lot of ways. I'm sure a lot of similar things, some things done like every other production, but I'm sure some things completely different too. So yeah, those are my thoughts overall on this show. Like, I think this is probably my lowest rated show right now. I'm somewhere in the middle, like 4 or 5. And I think it's because that first episode was so strong and it really pulled me in. And the second episode maintained it a little bit, but then it started to lose me. And then 3 had some cool things. I like the dance number and some of the musical elements that they put in there. Again, it gave it a different vibe. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of, and then seeing Bruno, like, he's so into this girl that he like is learning about her culture. He dressed properly to go to this event, so he could be with her. And I'm like, yeah, he seems like a really good guy. And I think I would have rather to focus on them and really building their chemistry and relationship throughout this show. But I feel like that's like a Disney thing. I always get scared of having like mixed races kissing. Like, who cares? If those are your characters that are in love, like, write it and execute it. But I feel like they're like, no, we got to bring in like someone from her background so she could be interested in them. And it's like, oh my God, like, just I feel like that's where the Disney restrictions come in, or influence comes in. And for me, I would have rather seen a show like Peter has MJ, or like Superman has Lois. I would have liked to seen Kamala have Bruno like that. I would have liked to seen them just really focus on them. And then after they fall in love and start dating, then in season 2 or something, you bring in a potential wrench in that spokes. You potentially bring in a guy who's a villain, who's good looking, who wants to has powers, he's all the things Bruno isn't, and tries to bring her over to the dark side or whatever. It's like, then you tell that story. But so again, try to keep it simple, not so much predictable, but you have 6 episodes. You want to feel for these characters. And I feel like Bruno in the last 2 episodes has just kind of been in the background. And now they're trying to bring him back in by having Kamran coming back and hiding out with Bruno. And I'm like, Kamala should be hanging out with Bruno. Like, so again, save that for season 2. And I feel like that's what this show needs, is someone who understands what to do in like a season 1 origin show and what to save for a second season. But yeah, this feels a little bit like Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, where they're trying to cram 2-3 games into one story. That's how I feel with this show, and it's not working for me. So yeah, I give it about a 4 or 5. All right, so I think that's it. Thank you all for those of you who stuck around and watched. Tom, Eric, everyone who's engaging with me, thank you so much. If you're watching later, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below about these shows. Let me go over to the music and pop that off. And I want to thank StreamYards again for I signed up with they upgraded my membership here, so that it was like $25. And then adding background music is really cool. It's something I'll probably use in the future. I'm glad we got to use a little bit of it today. But then we got like the shared screen, the slides, all that stuff. Like, it's nice to do this again. I think it adds a little bit of spark to some of my live streams. And I know I don't do them enough. I was thinking I've been looking into OBS and stuff like that, and I've looked into it before, but it made sense when I was streaming on Twitch to maybe have OBS going, and then maybe a little bit on here, but I just don't stream enough to do it. And at one point I thought maybe it would be easier for me to stream more because then there's no editing and all that stuff. But then for my fatigue and for health reasons, I remember why I can't stream all the time. I get tired, I tucker out, and then like in today, I have other engagements pop up, out of nowhere and stuff. So So I got to go and get ready for the work event now. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and letting me discuss and review all these shows and Doctor Strange movie, which I should have just made separate episodes on and put them up. But I think this was nice to do. So I think maybe at the end of each month, or maybe every couple months, because I don't really watch a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of YouTube, excuse me, and I don't really watch a lot of like other things. So but maybe at some point in a couple months when I build up a few more shows, maybe we'll do The Boys, we'll do like She-Hulk. We'll wait till that show's over. We'll do She-Hulk. Maybe I'll watch maybe we'll do Bad Batch. We'll talk about Rebels, Clone Wars, and Bad Batch. So yeah, we'll do another setup like this where I pick like 6 shows and we just kind of or a movie and 5 shows and kind of go through it. And we'll do that again in a couple months. But until then, I'll have some other stuff. I'll have some Resident Evil stuff going up on my other channel soon, and I'll have some more stuff for you guys this weekend on this channel with the Venom vlog. So yeah, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, man. You take care too, and everybody else, you be good. Happy belated 4th to everybody, and thanks for hanging out with me 2 days in a row for 2 streams. But now I got to get back to work doing this, and then go to my work event, and then come home and do more of this, and then go back to work tomorrow. It's going to be a crazy weekend. So thank you so much. I'll see you in the future. Peace.